Hello and welcome to Work Wives. I'm Sarah.
I'm Anna.
Anna, how are you today, my friend?
Oh, I'm feeling pretty good. How are you?
It's got something to do with that long lunch we just... Anna and I have to say, I think the secret sauce to our relationship as business partners is that it's all about food.
Yes, that's a fair call, definitely.
And we just had a great Vietnamese lunch.
You had a salad, I had a curry. It's good times.
A little side of Prosecco. So,
Is that how we say it?
I don't think so.
Prosecco.
I feel like I'm combining pizza, cheese, and champagne all in one. And it felt quite fancy, and then you pulled me up.
So what did you want to address with me today?
Look, I just wanted to... I let something out of my deep and dark files that I didn't even realize the other day. We were speaking on this very podcast that sometimes when you have everything up in the air for us, family, a business, life, when you're juggling so many plates, sometimes somewhere along the line, something has to give.
Totally.
And I didn't know it, but during the conversation as it unfolded, I mentioned to you that I think over the years with a traveling husband, working weekends, that for a few years, I think some of my female friendships in particular have been sidelined.
Fallen by the wayside.
Yeah. And, you spoke about recently going to a wedding and just how your cup was full again.
Yeah.
Being around some of those people that are good for the soul.
Yes.
And so I've made a real conscious effort to start connecting again. And I'm really fortunate. I think some of my friends, you see those memes and it's about a good friend that you can pick it up after 6 months.
Yep.
That's me.
Yep.
I've been a low maintenance friend.
Oh, low maintenance friendships are the best. My only kind of friendships.
Right. Okay, good. Good to know. Thank you for boosting me because I did feel a bit crapola there for a while. And I know sometimes, there are certain women that come through your lives, through having babies. There's people going through the same stages and, when your kids are going through school. But, I feel really fortunate to have some long-term friendships way back to school, and a lot of my working places of work have retained great friendships. And so I've made a bit of a collective conscious effort since that realization to start tapping back into some of those beautiful friendships. And so I was talking to a good friend of mine recently, and it was quite a poignant chat. She's at the pointy end of launching a business.
Oh, was it me?
I was thinking, now that we've got our little podcast, she was going through some of the things that we've recently just been through again,
right.
Doing a new business. So the marketing, the logo, the branding, the website's ready to roll. Her socials are all actually, she's way more organized than us. Her socials are ready to go, and she's kind of feeling excited, nervous, vulnerable because she's putting herself out there. Anyway, she asked me my advice.
Lord help her. Just kidding.
Well, you've been stuck with me for 8 years, so it must be going okay. She's 4 weeks away from her launch, which she informed me was 28 days.
Okay.
672 hours.
Wowzers.
Yeah, get the picture. She's on the countdown.
Right.
Way too technical for me.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more slap happy than that.
And
I, sometimes I just roll and...
28 days out is a lot of notice for you.
That's a life plan for me. I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow. But, she's obviously going through all the emotions. And it was stressing me out how organised she is.
Oh, I'm starting to get an insight into how you feel around me.
No, I need you to be organised. Yes, but, if you haven't already picked up, Anna is so formulated, calculated, systematic, and I'm just a fly by the seat of your pants. She'll be right, and 99% of the time it does work out.
Yes, which irritates the hell out of me because I'm like, oh, I plan so much and you just do it at the last, dash around the corner and it all comes together for old Sarah.
Look, it probably comes across that I am loose. Let's just call it, shall we? But I do think a lot. I wake up in the middle of the night. So I have a lot going on in my head. But I do have this very strange thing that I feel if I sit on something for too long, I sit on it for too long. So for me, I just do it and then edit it as we go because I think too many people don't ever do it.
Anyway, so your friend...
Right. asked me, and it was starting to clog up my brain. There was so much that she had planned and calculated, and she knew how many hours, and it was like, you know, it didn't feel, oh, it's such a buzzword, but it didn't feel authentic. It felt a little bit too calculated.
Right.
And sometimes I think you've just got to feel it, love it, do it.
Yep.
So she asked me my advice on what she can do in these next 4 weeks. And honestly, we did have a little discussion and I went through some points of business and she had it all covered. And I thought long and deep, and I came to the realization that I've never discussed with you, but something that we've done in our business together. And I have to say, it's actually quite brilliant.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
And so my advice to her was to do nothing for a day. Diddly squat. Zippo, zilch, nada.
Yep.
And some of our biggest moments in our business together have come at times where we've had so much to do, but we've just stepped away.
Yes, I agree.
Do you want to? I'll share some of the examples, and feel free to come in just in case anybody's sitting at home going, "What do you mean by this?"
Yes.
So I remember one day you and I had just had to do an interview for a magazine. And we had the longest to-do list. We'd been wanting to catch up in person, and you had a list longer than your arm. I had a list longer than my arm. And we decided to start the day, we were going to have a coffee. Next minute, we were sipping on espressos.
Oh, yes.
Espresso martinis. We were totally spoiling ourselves at 9:15 in the day. This was a day where we had so much to do, and yet we just stepped off the planet, grabbed a cocktail,
Yep.
and got into the big screen.
Yep. Yep.
And it was probably one of the greatest days because that to-do list got smashed the next couple of days. But I think we were just so busy in our heads that we had to just... Do you remember that day?
I do remember, yes.
We did nothing.
Yeah.
I think we actually then went and got our nails done.
Yes.
Had a long lunch.
Yes.
And went and got some outfits.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. Another day that I hadn't really thought about, but a few years ago we were in Vegas and we had a big conference. By day 3 of the conference, you had an amazing idea that
we
there
skip
was
the conference.
skip the conference and go to the early, like the grandma session of the buffet.
Oh,
A few bottles of champagne.
that's right. God, that was a good time.
Wasn't it a great day?
That was the best.
And so sometimes I think in our relationship, in our business relationship, we've achieved more by just stepping off the planet.
Definitely. I remember once we were really, really heavy into planning one of our biggest conferences.
Yep.
And they wanted to sell us on, they knew we were big spenders, so they wanted to sell us on everything that they had to offer. So they put us up for the night in their hotel. It was a big entertainment venue, and they took us around with a bunch of other organisers of events, and they just gave us everything from top to bottom, didn't they? They threw...
Mate, it was dinner
the
and a
kitchen
show.
sink at us.
It started at a 6 a.m. show with mammals.
It was everything that you could possibly hope for. Them servicing, any attendee, they gave it all to us. And we
cuddled koalas, we played golf.
Yep.
We had the best day ever.
The best day. And we had all these grand plans to do all this, amazing planning sessions. And we didn't. We were so stuffed by the end of the day that we went straight to sleep. We woke up the next morning, we just sat down and had breakfast, and we weren't doing anything. And I can't remember what it was, but we had such a huge epiphany about what we were going to do just over sitting over breakfast. The time that we had carved out to not do any work was when we did that work, wasn't it?
100%. And in fact, after we did more work that breakfast, we went back to a theme park and just played like kids for the day.
So good.
So I want to ask anybody who is listening today, when was the last time that you just did nothing?
Well, it's a funny thing because and I've heard this said in many different ways through other, business books and podcasts and stuff, that every other living thing on the planet, if it stops working, it dies.
Right.
Wow.
I wasn't expecting such a grim reality so quick in this chat.
But humans, if they stop working, they come alive.
Wow.
Their brains start functioning and start working. And I think it's got something to do with the fact that playful activities, and you can think about this when kids, at kindy or whatever are doing play, it activates the brain's learning receptors. So it actually is the thing that gets the brain going and activating. And often, you hear about it when someone says it was a write it on a napkin idea, right? Like you're in the middle of having dinner and drinks with friends, and that's when the best ideas come to you. Because
makes sense.
Yeah, because the learning receptors of your brain are activated at the time where you're playing or being free to be creative without any standards to meet.
We had and it's probably got to do with the way I learn. I remember a math teacher at school used to make up little ditties and songs for division or how to do math problem solving. And at any given time, I could look around the classroom and see our year 10 math class rehearsing the little ditty in their head to remember the theory behind. And it makes sense. Kids, so much repetition and song and playfulness and the way that they learn by osmosis through TV. It makes a lot of sense. I feel like we're getting busier and more stressed out than ever. Even when we're not working, we feel obliged to do something productive. Whether it's going to the gym, getting on top of our bills, going to a yoga class, or taking care of other people, we feel so obliged to get productivity out of every last nanosecond of our day.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
And there's a guilt that comes along with not. Like I know if I'm just sitting down to have a moment of chill and I turn on Netflix or whatever, there isn't a moment that goes by watching that Netflix where I'm not guilted into thinking I should be folding laundry or I should be prepping dinner or I should be answering emails. You can't, it's very hard for us to allow ourselves to just have a moment to relax.
So even though you are taking time out, you're still thinking about the things that you have to do.
Yeah.
I feel like our culture equates busyness with both high status and almost moral virtue.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So lazing around and relaxing without being on the phone or checking emails or consuming books, podcasts or articles, it feels like we're intellectually engaged as those who are constantly consuming information. And so very rarely do we just sit, take our brain out for a little bit of space to basically increase the productivity.
Yeah. Yeah, I did a course for our organisation a few months ago on, it was a business spring clean course, and one of the things that I did in there was, okay, well, we're spring cleaning out, we were tackling the calendar system, and I said, you need to go in now to your calendar and block out, schedule time for yourself each week.
Oh God, sounds like the bane of our life together. Scheduling, and it's so good. It really is.
It is, because some people need that. Some people need to give themselves permission to do it. And if that means scheduling into your workday so that you've been given the command to do nothing, then that's sometimes what works. If it means scheduling, blocking out some time to say, I am going to draw in my colouring book or do some knitting or go out and do some gardening in my vegetable garden. If you need to do that, do it, but give yourself permission to give your brain a rest.
Can that lose the fun a little bit though? I have a friend and she, wow, my goodness, every time we catch up, there's something beeping or buzzing in her phone. Drink water now. Her day, let dog out for a wee. Like her day is like quite scheduled.
Well, I guess it depends, because you're either
is that becoming she's putting too much pressure? I feel stressed hanging out with her. Maybe it gives her peace of mind because it reminds her, but is it one of those things where we have a to-do list that we're not doing because we're putting so much pressure on ourselves?
Well, this is what I mean in that it depends. If you're the type of person that responds to those prompts and that works for you, like I have a friend who runs a very, very high demand business, and he needs to schedule if he has an idea, he'll stop you mid conversation so he can put it in his phone as a reminder for later, because once it leaves his brain, it's gone. And unless he writes it down, it'll never come back to him. And so that scheduling his life to within an inch of itself works for him. Me putting in reminders in my phone to drink water, I'll do it the first 3 times and then I won't look at it again. And so that reminder becomes redundant because it's not prompting me to do what it was set out to do in the first place.
Gotcha.
So I believe that prompts and reminders to do things are valuable so long as they're living out their purpose. Once they stop being meaningful and useful to you, then there's no point having them anymore.
Right.
But I know for many people, it's just a guide to allow themselves the space and the freedom to have free time and just say, hey, now's the time to sit down. It's okay for you. You're allowed to sit down and not have to think or do.
I've told you many times that for me personally, going through what some people would equate to the worst time of their lives was the COVID lockdowns, particularly the initial COVID lockdowns in 2020 as some of the best moments of my life. And I think because as a mum juggling plates, it was so lovely not to be in the car, driving the kids at sport, sitting around doing the school run, making lunches. It was really nice to sit in the silence. I gave myself permission to exercise and got fitter than I had in a long, long time. I felt a little bit self-indulgent, really, because I was giving back to me. And as mums, we give so much, or as women, we often give so much to everybody around us. So I think I started wanting to go back to nature and sit in nature, and it's amazing how much it did light me up and made me feel really, really happy being able to. We made a conscious decision as a little family. We had lovely waterfalls down the road, so we would go down and just sit in nature and silence and go back to those basic, beautiful things without all the pressure of deadlines and timelines and a busy schedule.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's my 2 cents worth, my advice to my friend.
Stop working to start working.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes when we have so much pressure, and in her instance, she's got this business launch, it can consume us, and we sometimes don't think through with clarity when we're stuck in the middle of it. So to take some time out and to do some fun things is great for the mind and the soul.
Yeah, I agree.
So if we could continue having espresso martinis at 9 a.m,
Yep.
hanging out at theme parks, and particularly avoiding our long to-do list, got full permission from me.
Thanks, Sarah. And you, our listener, has full permission from both of us to take a moment to step away and free your brain, stop it from being activated, and then maybe it will activate itself and you'll come up with an idea that you've been sitting on for a while.
Yeah, go to the movies by yourself.
Yeah.
What else could you do?
I don't know. Take the dog for a walk. That's my idea of hell. If someone says, you should go for a walk, I go, nope.
To be fair, you do have a sausage dog, and it's a lot of walking for those little legs to catch up. Not with my big strides. I'm a big strider. Anyway, so that's all I wanted to talk about today.
Thanks, Sarah.
I hope that it's given you some insight into how non-dynamic our work days are from time to time. But sometimes that guilt attached to doing something for yourself or to take a bit of time out is a solid investment.
Valuable. Yeah. Awesome. Check you on the next one.
See ya.